Welcome to the Yellow Chicken, where we share scary stories that will keep you up at night. We've got a collection of bone-chilling urban legends that'll make you think twice before venturing into the unknown. From haunted trails to sinister mysteries, these stories will have you questioning what lurks in the dark corners of your town and beyond. Let's start off with a true story about a couple of friends that went camping in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Our first story is a chilling encounter called A Night in the Blue Ridge. Every year, my best friend and I embark on a camping trip, a tradition we started at the age of 13. Our experiences have always been enjoyable and uneventful until last year in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We arrived during peak season with limited camping spots available. As darkness fell, we hastily set up camp on a windy mountainside. The next morning, we ventured into town for drinks and leisure, returning late afternoon. By the time we got back, dusk was upon us again, but we found a more secluded spot to set up camp. We pitched our tents, started a fire, and settled into the night with some drinks. Around 1 a.m., a mysterious flashlight approached, which we initially thought might be a park ranger. After all, who else would approach campers in a remote area so late? In camping culture, it's an unspoken rule. You don't approach others at night unless it's urgent. But this wasn't a ranger. It was a man, maybe in his early 50s, with a woman who avoided our gaze. The man started a conversation about trivial matters like our lantern model, his eyes darting around suspiciously. He mentioned being former law enforcement, oddly out of context. He shone his flashlight on our tents, commenting on our setup. The way he and his flashlight moved suggested he was assessing our group size and belongings. Despite the seemingly mundane chatter, his behavior made us uneasy, as though he was sizing us up for some unknown reason. After a pause, he abruptly ended the conversation and vanished into the woods. Once his light disappeared, my friend and I exchanged worried glances. Without hesitation, he said, "We're packing our stuff and leaving." We quickly gathered our gear and left. It was the most unsettling experience I've ever had camping, leaving us both on edge. I couldn't shake the feeling that he planned to return while we slept. I'm certain we were being evaluated for something, though I can't fathom what. For those who've encountered such unsettling interactions, you'd recognize the eerie sensation of being sized up by another person. That night, we trusted our instincts and got out. The Appalachian Trail is known for its breathtaking beauty and endless miles of rugged wilderness. But like any place untouched by time, it carries its own secrets, stories passed down through generations of hikers and locals. Tonight, we follow one group who set out to find the glowing cross and stumbled upon something far more terrifying. One legend, however, stands out among the rest. It's said that deep in the woods, far off the beaten path, there's a mysterious cross that glows in the dark, hanging high in the trees. No one knows how it got there or who put it up, but those who've gone looking for it don't always return with answers. Tonight, we follow one group who set out to find the glowing cross and stumbled upon something far more terrifying. It was a Friday night, about a year ago. I was out with my boyfriend and a couple of friends, just driving around. We were bored, looking for something to do. We ended up at a house party, but it was full of kids, barely teenagers, getting wasted on cheap booze. Not exactly our scene. My friend, Jenny, had an idea. Let's check out the glowing cross. It's an old local legend, something hikers talk about, but only the brave or stupid actually go looking for. Supposedly, deep in the woods off the Appalachian Trail, there's a cross that glows in the dark, and no one really knows why. So, we decided to do it. We drove about 20 minutes out of town until we hit this old, barely there dirt road. It was surrounded by thick woods, no houses, no streetlights. Just a long, empty stretch of nothing. I remember seeing owls everywhere, at least I think they were owls. Big silent shapes perched in the trees, just watching us. It felt like they were waiting for something. I joked they were my spirit animals, there to protect me. But deep down, I wasn't so sure. The road got rougher, and soon we were surrounded by trees. Pitch black, no lights for miles. The air felt heavy, like something was watching us. It was creepy, but we kept going, laughing to shake off the fear. Then we saw it. The glowing cross. It was real, shining brightly in the trees ahead, maybe 100 feet away. My boyfriend Mark thought it'd be hilarious to drive closer, ignoring our screams to turn around. When we finally got up to it, it wasn't as spectacular as we thought. Just a wooden cross, nailed high up in a tree, painted with reflective material, probably for road signs. But still, who would go through the trouble of putting it up there in the middle of nowhere? Then, of course, Mark and his buddy started talking about the weird cult rumors that float around these parts. Supposedly, there have been sightings of strange gatherings deep in the woods along the Appalachian Trail. Jenny and I had heard enough. We were practically begging to leave. Finally, Mark gave in and turned the car around to head back. We hadn't driven more than 5 minutes when we hit this massive tree branch, blocking the road. It hadn't been there before. We argued over who should get out to move it, and in the end, we all decided to go together. No way were any of us getting left alone in those woods. We moved the branch, but as soon as we did, another one, a bigger one, fell from the trees on the other side of the car. It wasn't like a random fall either. It felt deliberate. We stood there frozen until we heard something big, moving through the trees above us, snapping branches as it went. Whatever it wasn't human, and it wasn't a normal animal. We panicked, full-on hysteria. We scrambled back into the car, tripping over each other, and Mark floored it. But as we crossed a small creek, a branch, covered in fresh green leaves, came out of nowhere and slammed into the side of the car. It was like it had been thrown. We screamed, and Mark drove like a bat out of hell, not stopping until we were back on the main road. We've told people we saw something that night, maybe a creature, maybe something else. Some people think it was a yeti, or what they call a wood devil around here, but no one really believes us. I wouldn't believe it either if I hadn't been there. Now, whenever we take weekend drives, we avoid that side of the trail, because once you've seen something like that, you don't go looking for it again. Whether it was the work of a cult, a restless spirit, or something far older and more sinister, one thing is certain: some places in these woods are best left undisturbed. The glowing cross still hangs in the trees, waiting for the next curious soul to stumble upon it. But if you ever find yourself deep in the Appalachian wilderness and the forest grows quiet, remember this: not everything that glows in the dark is meant to be found. And sometimes, the things you seek are seeking you. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed these stories and want more creepy content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Yellow Cat Stories. Stay curious, stay cautious, and we'll see you in the next one.